means we have few Tanzanians who can go into real estate as compared with the majority, because our population, as you can see, is over 60 million. We cannot go business. For those who have their good cash, let them invest in and pay taxes properly. But there is an area of agriculture. In this area of agriculture, everybody can participate. We try to encourage to the people cash, even 500 shillings, Tanzanian shillings. You can use it to invest in agriculture, because after all, in agriculture, the issue of taxation is set aside. But otherwise, it can lead into a very good area for somebody to earn good income and fight the rises of inflation. As you know, our country has promoted some projects for young men and women who have come from universities, and we appreciate for that. It's a good policy. Let them go to agriculture. We have various crops which are either locally sold or they can be exported in terms of good price, like coffee, cashew. We go for avocado. Also, we can go for sisal products, because the world prices have changed, and they can be in a favorable position for to participate and avoid a lot of inflation vices. Those can be two areas to be used to invest to avoid inflation vices. Another area which some people can manage to participate, as the doctor said, including this promotion by Tigo Pesa, Vikoba, and so forth. There are good areas to accumulate a good discipline in money. If you spend money wisely, it means you can accumulate inflation effects. Another area that can be used, can be promoted by several sectors like politicians or NGOs and so forth, is promoting urban business like chicken farming or livestock. You can sell meat, you can sell milk and get some good income, which can enable, even in a family expenses, to accumulate where other items are very expensive. But having money from those sources, it is quite commendable. Another area that can be promoted for those who have got some, I cannot call it idle cash, but we always tell people, if you have money and if you have made some surpluses, go for government bonds. They can take time to pay you off, but the interest end is a long-term effect. So if you are anticipating to spend some issues that need a lot of money, the first discipline is savings. Go for government bonds, or if possible, go for the Islam stock exchange and buy shares. If the prices can be favorable, you can sell them. Another area that can accommodate inflation, ensure that family members are being taken to school. Let them go to school. If you cannot pay for their fees, you can request a loan for the higher education and ensure that they get the relevant degrees. It's not easy for many families to pay for their children higher learning school fees, but as long there is another alternative of obtaining is wise. Let them go to school and obtain their education so that they can use those skills to earn income. I think, Doctor, I should end there. Maybe if there will be some questions, I'll be ready to respond to them.
Thank you so much, CPA Masigwa. As Tanzanian household, we are told to adopt, if you have good money, then invest in real estates. If you have little, like Dr. Rosemary here, go for agriculture, invest in tangible assets, or in agriculture, maybe agriculture business, like don't just do agriculture for consumption, invest in cash crops, and then from there you will need, you can export more, and you get the dollars, right? And then we are invest in financial sector like the Tigo Pesa and Pesa, and today we have Celcom there. She will tell us more. And there are another sector, poultry industry and livestock keeping. Also for long-term investments like government bonds and shares, which last like 10 to 20 years. And lastly, we educate our people through salaries. So those salaries, they are not impacted by inflation. Thank you so much, Dr. CPA Masigwa. And then let's hear from Mr. Yusufu Nguba. Digital finance and fintech innovation. So how can digital financial tools like mobile wallets and savings apps empower Tanzanians to save consistently and securely, even in the face of inflation?
All right, thank you. The question as follows. It's true, digital finance can help Tanzanians save despite inflation. First of all, we need to understand we need to refer to the definition of saving. Saving is the money that we keep for the future use. But the question arises, does that money still have the same value as I now have saved it? Okay, one of the drawbacks of this saving is inflation. You can save your money, but still the value can decline in the near future. So we usually advise people to save and invest at the same time. We have some products which have been implemented in our market recently. We have, that's one of the good examples. You can save and invest at the same time. You'll be buying units from these money market products, which providing you with some interest. So I think that's one of the key places we need to consider.
Okay.
And more so, we can talk about these seamless integrations between have some financial service providers. We can see last year, early this year, sorry, there was Samia Bond. This was launched by the CRDB Bank, but you can still invest in this bond using your mobile wallet, your SIM banking app. You can go there, you can invest your interest. But more so, it's about the security of your money. If you're using these mobile wallets, at least you can avoid some other risk with your money. Like someone can steal if you're just using this informal savings. Maybe you keep your money somewhere in your house. It's very risky. Anybody can easily steal your money. Okay, moving forward, we can look at the automated saving features, which are implemented also in the applications. You can you can set your target. Like I want to save maybe 100,000 shillings in a month, and it will be automatically deduct that money from the app and keep it in your wallet as your savings. So this also can help you having at least some amount of money that you can use when you're having some troubles, when you have your own demand. Okay, as well as we have seen UTT AMIS also introduce a mobile application, which is easy to use and mobile friendly. Anyone from any place can access the market and invest. So these are some of the initiatives that we are proud of, and we are looking forward to increase some more services on our market. Moving forward as well, we can look at the cost of saving has been reduced if you are using these digital finance apps. Maybe some years back, if you want to save your money, you were supposed to go physically at the bank to deposit. But right now, MNOs which have implemented these applications that are easily to access, and you can save your money there. We have Tigo Kibubu, so and so. Yeah, it's very easy to save with this digital finance app. Yeah, and Koba is zero cost. Okay. I think I can add some more thing. People also have been mixing these two things between investment and saving. These are quite different things. When you save your money, still the value doesn't increase. But when you invest, your money still can bring you some passive income through the interest that you'll be receiving. As Father here said, you can invest in government bonds, you can buy units, you can buy some shares through this application, like mobile trading application from DSC. You can just download the app, create your account, you'll be trading easily through the app 24 hours, making your orders. You can sell, buy at any time with a low cost. Yeah, so we usually advise people to use this opportunity to invest and save at the same time. Or you can begin with saving, then you take your savings to the investment. Like in government bonds, minimum investment amount is 1 million, but not anybody can afford it to get 1 million at once. So you can just begin by saving with these digital finance applications, and you can take your money and go to other instruments like these money market funds.
Interesting. I've learned about automated saving features. What is that?
Okay, fine. I have seen several apps from I think somebody called Swahili Apps series. They have this, yeah. They have this saving application which allows you to automate your funds. Like you can deduct direct from either your bank account.
From the bank account?
Yeah, or M-Pesa, and go direct to your saving account or saving wallet.
Okay. Thank you, thank you.
Zero cost as well.
Oh, that's great. So, Mr. Yusuf Nguma has told us not only to save, we need also to invest. a key point I've taken from him, and he has narrated several places where you can save using Sabia Bond, Simbank app. We have UTT, AMIS, DSE, MCOBA, and several other places. So there are others which needs you to have like the government bonds. The minimum is 1 million. But with MCOBA, with Mwekeza, these ones can take even 500 Tanzanian shilling. So anyone can start saving, and anyone using UTT AMIS also can start investing. So no excuse for Tanzanians to save and invest at the same time. Thank you. How can universities contribute to shaping national policy and financial literacy programs to build economic resilience?
Thank you so much. I've been following very closely with what my colleagues have tried to point out on the questions that we're trying to probe. Maybe I will take you a little bit back to our economic history of our country. Economically, we always advocate on the model that we save so that we invest. There's a popular book which has been written by Dambisa Moyo, and that book is called Dead Aid. I hope majority of you have actually seen or read that particular book. Dambisa Moyo, the relevant issues which are also being reflected with what we are discussing right now. Dambisa tried to explain, and mind you that this is the lady who has been working with most prominent institutions, including the IMF and World Bank, and particularly for the trying to see how the aids and so forth have been shifted to the continent. And one of the things that she pointed out is that ever since most of African countries attained independences, we're talking about over 50 years, some of the countries are 60 years, the question is the amount of aid that was dedicated to the African continent, why is it is more than, I mean, it's trillion US dollars, trillions and trillions of US dollars. The question was, why with that aid model, the African continent has still remained the way it is in terms of the poverty level, in terms of the economic structures, economic development and growth as well. And she was arguing that technically we believe that saving will lead to investment. And that's the model that most of the countries in the world have adopted. But in Africa, we believed, we equated saving with aid. So to us in our equation, that's how she argued in her book, that our model of economic development and growth in Africa is that aid leads to investment. And having said so, the culture of saving has actually been eroded, or it's not even the tone of it from the country levels. And here I'm talking about Africa in general. If I take Tanzania historically, since we got independence in 1967, we adopted the Arusha Declaration, the socialism sort of economy, and everything was state-owned. Now, if everything is state-owned, then no one was allowed to own any particular sort of investment. If you own our panelist here, I think it was during his time, he might be able to tell us very well about that. But now, just want to take you back from that time, that most of the people were not allowed to invest, to have their own investments. Therefore, if you don't have investment, are you saving? You're not allowed to have, any sort of properties that you claim are yours. Everything is state-owned. Then we moved, and that one synced into ourselves. Everything was structurally owned. Everything we demanded, we actually attained them from the government. So there was no need of saving. Saving for what? And then that culture entered into our society. Coming 1985, we had our second president, our late Honorable Ali Hassan Mwinyi, who came with liberation. We used to call him Zewa Ruksa, where he opened up everything. And during that time is where we started to think about, we need to move. Although constitutionally we are still, under socialism, but the second term president advocated for trade liberalization and so and so and so, and then some of the businesses started. Tanzanians started to feel that we have a role to play in terms of the businesses. Sure. For example, if you look at the time, University of Dar es Salaam started in 1970. And we had the middle colleges, College of Business Education, IAA and so forth, which were offering the certificate and diploma level for the business and so forth. So the landscape of businesses and so forth, which has been influenced by personal saving, wasn't there. And we grew up as a country with that culture for so many years. Now it has become our culture, that everything we want the government to do it for us, and so and so and so. Now, I've show you that perhaps we can tackle the issue of, we can trace the issue of saving culture as being instituted from our historical background. Now, coming to the question, we are now struggling a lot. Ever since we opened up, and then the third term, our president, the late Mkapa, in his memo, he wrote that when we opened up the windows, we thought only the clean air would come in, not realizing we could even invite the mosquitoes. I think that paraphrase pointed out quite a lot of things, and now we are struggling as a country to build the culture of saving, but we are struggling with historical and our own culture that we built over that time. Now, the roles of the universities in building universities and researchers in building up the saving culture can be stretched out into so many roles. One of which is research and development. It's very unfortunately that our countries do dedicate sufficient amount of money for researchers. Not only about the financial issues, but just research in general, looking at the amount of money dedicated for the research. And we as researchers and experts, we believe that if the country doesn't invest in research, then obviously the country will adapt and adopt whatsoever results that have been found with any other country's researchers. So we'll take any model and put it in our economy, whether it works or not. And so number one is through research. But within the research, the second thing that I think the country has to do so far, or the universities has to do, is through the literacy programs. I think it's a high time. Few years ago, Tanzania has taken a loan from the World Bank, and through the program, through the biggest program that we ever had since we got independence in our universities, called Higher Education for Economic Transformation, the HEAT project. So the HEAT project, one of the key issues, apart from infrastructural buildings, is curriculum development and curriculum review. And through the curriculum review and the curricular development that HEAT project has supported these universities across the country, one of the elements that it has insisted is the financial literacy, that it has to be taught from the lower level. Now, that is at the university level. But recently, if you look at our new education curriculum from the primary school to secondary, financial literacy is also being supported to be part of the literacy that people should have. So number two is through the literacy, financial literacy, and that can be embedded within our curriculum. From the lower level, that has to be, being taught and being practiced. But the other thing that the universities can do, I think, in my views, is outreach programs. So outreach programs can be in different levels. The universities have got three major roles. Number one is research, teaching, as well as outreach or community engagement. So not only teaching in the class, but I think the university has to go to the society and so forth. If I wind up the other aspects that I think the universities can play the role is through including program. We could have some sort of saving clubs. We can have saving clubs as just as any other saving clubs that we do have in our society. But the other thing that I think we can be able to do as universities is through university industry linkage. There should be some sort of collaborations between the researches that are being done. I'm happy that our colleague here, once he opened the meeting, he said that Liberty Sparks fight to ensure that whatever research that it has conducted, it doesn't stay in the shelves and so forth. And to do so, you need some sort of stakeholder meeting like this. And then this modality can also be included in the universities. We do have a lot of researchers at a PhD level, at a master's level, just as my colleague who has done one with Sweden and Tanzania. So many of them here. But who are the consumers of those outputs? We don't have a lot of researchers about financial literacy, about savings behavior. So I think that there could be a way, the university industry linkage, to ensure that whatever we are producing as research output in terms of the saving also goes back to the society. Maybe we can have our own modalities of saving. Maybe not necessarily that we have to go through the way other countries are going. We can inculcate in our culture and see how to move forward. Just as my colleague has said in digital apps that are there like M-Koba, etc. Maybe we can have our tailor-made Tanzanian saving model through the research. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Igaza, for insightful. On saving culture, you said it was not like our issue historically, but now coming up. So as universities, if we invest a lot in research and development, we can adapt and adopt what really fits Tanzanians, not necessarily what the world tells us or what has been good for one country to be also good for our country. And also on financial literacy project, through the HIT project and through the curriculum review and development, we have embedded the financial literacy component. So, and it will start working the new academic year in this coming this year, 2025-2026. So our students will know this, will have this information, and they will be able to save from the little they earn, whether pocket money or those are having loan bonds, they can also start saving and investing. Also, the new version for education policy, which have been started working from the primary and secondary, they are being taught and practicing this. So they can start, and even at our family level, we can start giving our kids the Vibubu, and they start saving. Or you open UTT AMIS account for your child, and then if the uncle gives him or her 10,000, you tell him, please save for your birthday or for a trip. Then it will be good. It will be practiced from that low level. Also, the outreach programs and saving clubs at our universities, also a university industry. And these are the things as universities are using to impact financial literacy programs at the university level. And on top of that, also at the university and the other universities have a program for financial literacy in collaboration with the Bank of Tanzania. So they are doing these things. So currently you pay, and then you are being given these trainings. You become a financial literacy educator. So it is going viral. A lot of universities like that so far are doing this. So in the near future, all Tanzanians will be knowledgeable about financial literacy. Back to CPA. How can financial consultants and institutions support individuals and businesses in building up an inflation resilience investment and risk management plans?
To respond on that, as I said before, most of the people who I face in the office have issues with Tanzania Revenue Authority. But at the same time, we usually make some campaigns that if you want to do your business in a good atmosphere, try to differentiate between a business entity and your personal issues. If the money is coming in, then it is spent on other issues that are not related with the business. Definitely, something will go wrong. Tax issues in reality are very, 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 I cannot say use the word cruel, but TRA does not allow any expense which is not incurred to earn income. If you are selling, for example, electronic goods, of course we expect that you are going to import them, or you are going to Kariako and have your own business and sell them either wholesale or retail. But make sure that the money earned and how it's spent should be into the books. And when you make your returns, make sure that they are explicit and don't include other personal issues. So such campaign can go even for other issues that are not related with tax matters. Campaigns can be done. Establishment of, I think that is one of a good approach to sensitize people that have a discipline in the money that you are earning, because we as consumers, we cannot control fuel prices. Fuel is imported and it is sold. Of course, there are regulators, but at the same time, we cannot overspend or overuse. If you are traveling from Dar es Salaam to Dodoma, okay, use some economical means to reach there. You cannot buy a fuel, put it in a car and go to Dodoma on the same purpose that you can use another economical means to do so. So, as I said before, education or awareness of telling the potential clients or the clients that are in need of our services, we ensure that use the most economical way to discharge your obligation. Yeah, it's a fact that we have adopted some issues related with the capitalistic approach or model. Maximize profit, minimize cost. But they are viable. They are viable to avoid unnecessary expenditure when we are taking our undertakings. At the same time, it is wise if the campaign can go further to encourage young men and women to go into groups and go for whatever government is offering, like municipal council loans. They are good. They are good. And security is very minimal. It can make people active and earn some income and at the same time realize that if I don't pay the loan and consume all the money, astray. Other issues, of course, I've mentioned them before about the investing on stocks, real estates. In addition, if you have good money, you can invest in foreign currency as a saving, so that if our currency, Tanzania currency, go a bit shaky, you can go for foreign currency and see if it can help to stabilize whatever expenses that we are going to incur by hedging them. For when we are talking about hedging, we are talking about risk aversion. Another thing that can be commendable is to go for insurance. Things like health, we need to buy those packages, because if you are going to Muimbiri, pay your own money, it will be very expensive. But if you have been covered by NHIF, it will be accommodated, and to some extent you cannot feel it, especially for those of my age with high blood pressure. It can be contained. Another thing is that those regulators who are available, like Bank of Tanzania, EURA, Fair Competition Commission, TBS, etc., they should see that what is happening in the marketplace. Some years ago, like last year, we had the problem with the sugar price. Sugar was scarce, and the price went up, and some people decided to hold the stock to wait to sell those goods. But if not for the intervention of those regulators, things could have been bad for we consumers. So, Doctor, as I said, let us see if campaigns are done in all areas to make sure that we consumers don't suffer with whatever is happening around us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much once again, CPA Mosigwa. You have advised us to differentiate between what the business and issues. Also, we need to keep records well, so that when TRA comes, Tanzania Revenue for tax should not include our personal issues and the business issues, and they start complaining. Also, financial disciplines. If it's okay to use SGR for your way from Dar es Salaam to Dodoma, you should not fuel up your car for the road trip. Just use SGR and it will save. And also, apart from many things, we should have insurance like NHIF and other insurance. And thank you so much. Lastly, from the panelists, with Mr. Yusuf. On what innovative solutions can fintech, financial technology, to promote sustainable saving and spending habits that help individuals preserve their value during inflation periods?
Thank you. Firstly, we can introduce some financial literacy programs. We can use social medias like like what we have been doing, as Orbit Securities, we have been collaborating with some financial influencers, which have been certified by the BOT, and this can help to increase the level of the financial literacy outreach, to the people. And secondly, we can be using these seamless connections with the digital finance platforms, with some of the financial services providers. Like us, DSE has helped us to integrate this DSE Isa Kiganjani app with some of the banks, like TCB Bank, CRDB Bank. Also, they have integrated with the M-Pesa. You can find the DSE Isa Kiganjani app within M-Pesa. And some other financial service providers which we have been collaborating with, like UTT as well. We also want to collaborate with them. And all in all, we all need to have easy access for the people to get these services through their mobile wallets. We can talk about the use of advanced features to improve these digital platforms, like payment gateways via can use Visa payment, like to allow other diasporas to get access as well to these saving and investment apps. More so, we can also use some tools to monitor our portfolios. These tools will help us to calculate even these capital gains, can also count the your saving habit, like the frequency you do your savings, and also can help you to know, or maybe you can calculate this compounding interest through these apps for you to know your future value of money, what it will be. So I think that's all. We can add some more thing here. The use of AI tools as well for making analysis for the investors to make the proper decision when they want to invest, like what to buy, where to buy, what to sell. This also will help us to participate fully in these opportunities. Like you know what you are doing, but these tools can help you, can assist you to get there. Expansion of credit facilities as well. We can introduce you can introduce these tools, like which can be used to offer credit, and they can also measure your we call credit what? Something about credit. Your credit. Yes, maybe a credit guarantee. If it's easy to get this credit facility from these apps, can also encourage people to fully participate. Why? If you just made your saving from these apps, from these wallets, and maybe you just need you're in need of some little cash, it's not necessary to just get all of it and going to make your consumptions. You can just credit your money. You can get credit from that savings you have made, and later on, as you pay, you get back your units which you have invested in these apps. So I think this can also facilitate fully participation, and we also seek more participants in this in these platforms. Why? Because our economy, the money circulation, and as you know, we also have 60% of Tanzanians are in formal sector, meaning they don't even have bank account. They don't even participate in contributing the social security funds, and this is a huge problem in the near future. We'll be facing a lot of some people being dependent on some others. So if we have this such kind of promotion to these platforms, it can help us help people to make their own security for the future, for their funds that they have been saving through. Yes.
Thank you so much. That was so informative. only questions from me. Okay. Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
We're trying to sensitize. Like I was talking to my friend here. I'm raising from the village, and I know people do not know how to properly write and keep records, but they enjoy having their money stored in their through their mobile applications or other mobile whatever wallets, because they can see immediately the transactions. Oh, I debited my account 3,000, so he sees, and they are comfortable, and they are rich. Of course, I know some of them are very rich, but they don't have own bank accounts. So we are not sure that maybe in the near future the government will come up maybe with a more stricter policy that would also discourage people from saving through their mobile.
Thank you.
This is actually what I missed in your presentation.
Thank you so much. Can I respond then? Okay. Maybe I can respond to that, and then, if you allow. Okay.
Oh, it's like follow-up question.
Hi, my name is Penina. I'm working with an NGO where we are working with women and youth at village levels, and we mobilize them for saving. I wanted to add the question by giving the example. Like, we had 105 groups from 2017 to 2022, and they had saved more than 407 million. But their inflations and the issue of, I mean, we encourage them to continue saving, then we link them to banks. I don't want to mention the bank, but after a year, they had gained only 2% of profit. That discouraged them to continue saving to the bank. And that's why I came back. I mean, I wanted to add an addition question and addition thing on the issue that was mentioned, that the policies and the inflation rate affect the people from village, but they are not poor, as you said. They have a lot of money, and when we have a lot, I mean, we we have a good police and good leadership. And I mean financial literacy, maybe from universities and lectures and something like that might help.
Thank you so much.
My question is a bit, my contribution is a bit on general situation, because I'm personally thinking of a situation whereby we are leaving no one behind as far as our people are concerned. And I see a lot of situations whereby whatever kind of, an intervention that we are thinking of, to me, it seems like we are leaving a lot of people behind, a lot of Tanzanians behind. For example, if you talk of technological achievements, if we speak about probably using an application, we are talking about very few Tanzanians, where we are thinking of a lot of people that we have. If we are thinking of giving people options like, for example, making savings, again, we are already alienating a lot of other Tanzanians who really are living, the income is just too low, from hand to mouth. If you talk about savings, you're speaking about a very difficult situation for them. For example, if you tell people to subscribe to the National Health Insurance program so that they can be treated without having cash in their pocket when they are sick, I think of myself, who has paid a personal package of 780,000 to get a package that cannot afford to give me some of the medicine when I get to the hospital. I have again to pay for the medicine. I have to pay for some routines that I have to undergo, like maybe big measurement equipment, like some x-rays, some what you say, this is not in your package, so you have to subscribe. I'm thinking now of a common person, a common Tanzanian who is above 60 like me, and who actually wants to get this health package. Sure, they are telling them that for an individual like you, the minimum you can pay is 780,000 per annum, of which you won't be getting a full package of every kind of a situation. I felt so sad this week when I was listening to the Bunge session, when the Minister for Health said people should understand. She was responding to a question from the parliamentarian, and she was saying, you should understand. So the government is supposed to be free to citizens. And citizens are only supposed to contribute a little bit to these expenses, because the aim of the government should be focusing on giving health facility to every citizen. But we are thinking that the best way of doing it is through the national health system, of which should have been highly subsidized to make sure that at least we are covering every child and every adult in the country. So really, I'm trying to see that we still have a difficult on some regulatory procedures, regulatory issues, when we want to make sure that we get everybody on board. But most of the things that we are thinking about, I'm trying to think, everything you have said is very well, but I'm just trying to see that there is someone we are living. There is someone somewhere, probably down there at the village, of which is the majority, because the country economy will be like a pyramid. So we are thinking of some people up here who can be covered by these, the cycles, the credit things, the whatever, the cares issues, the saving, then credit unions. We are thinking of a certain middle class kind of Tanzanians. What about the grade level down here, where we have millions of Tanzanians who probably cannot be this so-called intervention that we are talking about? That's just my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for the questions which have been asked, and I do agree with what has been said. So maybe I can just add some insights with regards to the policy issues. We are aware technically that quite a number of economic policies that might assist households at individual level for countries to encourage the saving behavior. One of the policy issues is through what we call tax incentives on savings, and that has been done quite a lot in US and so, that in particular saving modalities, the taxes are being exempted and so forth. But we also have some other modality of policy, like interest rate on savings, that the government might decide at some point for all the savings accounts to set a minimum interest rate for saving, so that to encourage most of these people to save, because they are guaranteed that once they save, they are going to get some sort of amount at the end of the day. But we're also having these backed up savings by the government, like the bonds, the treasury bonds, T-bills, and so and so. But we also have the employer retirement plans for employees, which is also part of the policies. We do have issues like what my colleague has been talking about, the insurance, etc., etc. So the issues that I was trying to argue at a particularly in Tanzania, I'm referring back to third term of our late Benjamin Mkapa in his memo again. Sorry, I used to read a lot of their memos. So he pointed out that when he initiated and propagated the privatization policies, he realized when he started the privatization processes, he realized so many mistakes at a later stage. And one of the things that he pointed out, it was that we started privatization without having clear policies. We didn't have a defined regulatory framework to guide this sort of privatization. The aim was really nice, but I think we need to go back to our institutional reforms and so and so. Now, coming back to the savings, that's why I gave back the historical background, that saving based on our economic history has not been part of us. Now, the question is, shall we adapt whatsoever policies which are existing in other countries, and we are seeing them doing wonderful well in these countries? That's why in my responses, I think I'm still on the fact that before we start all these sort of saving modalities and so forth, perhaps there's a need to do intensive research to come up with our home-based solution and modalities for our saving that will go hand in hand with our cultural setup, with so and so. So before we just design policies based on what globally is being experienced, I think we need to have a policy-based, evidence-based policies. And of course, we won't be able to get evidence-based policies if at all we don't conduct intensive researches to see what works for us and what doesn't work for us. Because, for example, if we try to adopt one of the policies, such as interest rate, we know that you're looking at the equilibrium, because the way the economy operates is not just one particular sector that once we change it, then everything remains the same. If you change one thing, there's a triple effect that might happen to so many sectors. So without conducting evidence-based sort of studies and researches to come up with policies, and you see, with all these policies we are talking about, and because they are there already, but what works for us, we need research. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You can,
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. On the issue of change in policies, what I can contribute in that is that who are the policy makers? With the consumers or the leadership which is around? We can suggest for a change in a culture of making policies. As the presenter said, that a research should be done. We have over 10,000 villages in Tanzania, and most of us are living in rural areas. So whatever is happening around us is affecting us. Being in the city center or in town life it is easy for us to accommodate some issues of whatever is happening in changing in inflation, because we can mitigate them either through avoiding to spend on unnecessary issues, or going to somewhere to buy in bulk where the prices are still low. Moving from, let's say, moving from Tabata to Kariako and buy some goods and go back so that they can spend them for a month can be a good idea. But that's for the minority category. For the majority, it's still the hard way. So the issue of enabling people to participate in changing in policies making is very, very vital. It is not easy for us to convince the banks to institute a plausible interest for those who are making some savings there. It might be in fixed deposits, or it might be in a normal saving account. That one is not very possible because already we have adopted capitalistic model in doing business, especially in banks. The central bank can regulate, but it cannot impose to those banks that make sure that all those who are making some savings there, they earn a good interest to make their life easier. But we can encourage people to invest that money in something else that can have a circle. As I said before, agriculture is parcel of us. There are many crops that are doing very well in the marketplace. If you go for horticulture, the same thing. If you go for cash crops, the same thing. So we can encourage most of us to do agricultural business, even at a very small level. If you go to those who are sharing some testimonies about life, a good example, there is a gentleman who was shifted to Puranga. He's selling papai kwa Kiingereza tunasemaje? Also he's selling those fruits passion at a very good price, and he's making very good money. But what he did was to consult experts, like those who have graduated from Sokoine or whatever, so that they can guide him. If you are going to do this business, the ABC, XYZ is this one. And then you go to the market. You are sure that you get your money. That is my contribution.
Thank you so much. It was lovely. Do you have more? Yeah. Okay.
Ban of South African and Malawian business, and if you have been to business, having the ban even for 2 to 3 days is a great loss, very great loss. I once was doing certain business, and it happened that my business account was one particular bank in Tanzania, and one of the Monday, I remember, the bank was not functioning throughout the country. You could not deposit, no withdraw. But deposit, you could leave the bank. I got a very big loss because it was on Monday, and my Monday was the peak of the days within the week that I would make a big business. Now, such government directives, those are the things that would really discourage a farmer. I also was involved in a certain research in Mbeya, Mbarali specifically, with rice. The farmers, in one season, they had invested a lot in rice production. And later on, there was like the government want to say, I mean, have a food basket, stable and whatever. So they sort of ban export, rice export and whatever. And you know what followed? The few people engaging fully into raising rice. So these are kind of things that we're talking about. Stable policies. I would think in here, if we could have, maybe this policy would last for maybe 10 years, 5 years, for the investor to come in and say, I'm now ready to operate under this environment. But if you invest and then 2 or 1 year later, there are changes in the policy, come on. I mean, you have borrowed, for instance. I need to be able to service the loan. The policy will affect my profitability and my engagement. Those are the things that we need to think and advise, that we need a stable policy, a stable policy environment. This is very important. If you have been to business, they affect a lot. I will give an example again. The previous regime leadership banned the use of, most of the government institutions were using the hotels as their main conference facilities. And then Mr. President banned the use of these hotels. I know a person who had invested in building a hotel, and it was completed just 2015. And he suffered to the dream because he had borrowed the money and the hotel business was not functioning. Do you know what I'm saying? So that those are the changes that will affect a person investing, a person in business, and the like. But I also wanted, this is enough for you, I wanted to counter-argue a bit of what Mr. Analange said, that poor people in the rural settings, they are not techno-savvy. My mom passed away last year in December. She could draw money. She was 84. She could draw money from her mobile wallet at the age of 83. So it just needs and I'm telling you, using gadgets for some people becomes quite easy, even in the rural settings. So I want to say that it is not, we shouldn't be discouraged. I've seen this. I just moved in town when I went to my university and whatever. I used to live in the village. People are using gadgets. They know how to use them. So sometimes we shouldn't be discouraged that, penetrating the technological means to get into their financial inclusion is not feasible. It is quite feasible. It's quite feasible. We just need to educate them. But the mobile service providers, they should simplify the process. Like you say, okay, you deposited this money, you want to transfer this. So, mnatupa procedure nyingi. You put in a lot of procedures. Just put simple procedures. Deposit, finish. Transfer, finish. Unataka bando la siku moja, bando la wiki moja, bando la wiki tatu. No, those are lengthy procedures. If you simplify them, you can have a lot of taking on board the services, right? For the villages, for the people who are not well educated. Thank you very much.
Just one remark for what you have said. Okay, so there's what we call, you have referred to the cross-border trade, particularly the regional integration issues that are going on. Just to remind you that that's not the first one. That's not the first time that Tanzania has imposed the export ban. You remember the issue between Tanzania and Kenya on the chicken, which were burnt alive across the border of Namanga. And we also have issues, Tanzania and Zambia, with maize export ban, where farmers at Kibaigwa, who were funded by CRDB, by the time everything was ready and the export ban was imposed based on the food security assessment at that particular time. Now, we conducted a certain cross-border issues, especially the agro products which are crossing the borders from Tanzania to these destinations. And there are two issues. Number one, the non-tariff barriers, leave alone the export bans as a policy, but we also have what we call technical barriers and non-technical barriers. Now, for the non-technical barriers, non-tariff barriers, talking about the weighbridge, the corruption, and so and so, people are talking about these technical barriers like export ban. That's a high level. But for us, our argument was, because most of these technical barriers are mainly influenced by the political issues. Right now, we are talking about the regional issues with SADC and of course, EAC and so forth. We are also including the issues of Trump reciprocal tariffs, which are also coming in and so forth. But the non-tariff barriers, which are killing our cross-border trade, are really significant to our farmers and so forth. 26% of the profits that are being lost by, these people are trading their commodities across these countries are influenced by these non-tariff barriers. And we had signed a lot of protocols, but the political will has to be in line. So just wanted to make a remark on that one. We are working on those technical barriers, but non-tariff barriers, you are sorting out these non-tariff barriers only to find out tomorrow new non-tariff barriers have emerged. So I think this leads to a collaborative efforts and political will within these regional integrations. Just as we are seeing with the issues of conflict and peace among the region. You see the way countries are scattered. We all witness what is happening in Congo. But you see all these regional integrations, the way they are reacting to it. Now, that's the same thing when it comes to cross-border trade. That collaborative issues with the regional integration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session. This marks the end of it, and Kaka Michael is telling me that tea is ready. Tea or breakfast? Or lunch?
Thank you so much. Actually, tea is ready downstairs. I mean, the ground floor, then you go to the right. But before we do that, we'd like to have a group picture at the entrance. So kindly, when we go down, let's go down together at the entrance. We get a group picture, then we go for tea, please. Then when we come back, we'll continue with this session, actually.